No powoli tam przechodzić.
Idziemy.
Idziemy. Idziemy.
First off, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone here. So I made a special presentation just for you guys. Someone was asking earlier, like, oh, you changed the name of the city you're in? No, this is just for my Krakowians. This is just for you guys. So my presentation for the awesome people of Krakow, and I hope you guys enjoy. So before the internet, this is how people dressed. And before the internet, I wanted to be either a fireman, a cartoonist, or a hockey player. In fact, I dressed up as 2 out of the 3. But then the internet came along, computers came along, my family got our first little Mac, I don't even know what it was called, but it was like the size of a box. And I became a very geeky boy. And I actually found this clip art piece who has the same haircut, similar glasses, a little different smile. I've never held a pitchfork, but I thought it was an appropriate depiction of me in my 8, 9, 10 years of age stage. So around 10, 11 years old, I really started to get serious with computers. And I remember when all the kids in my classes would be going on Yahoo for Kids, learning about, geography and biology, dinosaurs and stuff like that. I'd be going on rock and roll websites. And one common thread that a lot of these websites had was they were built using, at the time, Macromedia Flash, which is now Adobe Flash, as you probably know. So started experimenting with Flash, and like everyone who started with Flash at a young age, you do stick figures, beating each other up, and blood and stuff like that. But then you would slowly progress to building menus, then building websites, then building rich applications with video and whatnot. And this, for me, really allowed for a combination of all my passions. I was really into art, I was really into animation, I was really into music, and I was really into the emerging internet. So I built Pokemon websites, I built websites for bands that I played in, things that I liked, and before I knew it, the local bands that I performed in, we needed a website. So I was like I said earlier, the geeky guy in the band, and so I opted to build our website. And then soon after, bands in the scene started to hear about, oh, talk to that Brendan guy who builds your website. And I've never shared this with an audience, but one of the first websites that I built, I actually built in exchange for Subway sandwiches. One of the guys in the band worked at Subway, and he would hook me up with those little tickets for free sandwiches. And his band actually ended up getting really, really big. And so it was an early investment. It's better than working for free. Kind of embarrassing as things progressed to even say that. But so started working with local bands. I was in a punk rock band, designed our website and other bands. And then there was one point where my favorite band at the time, Slick Shoes, had a competition open to their fans to create a promotional Flash presentation, splash page that effectively promoted their new album. And so I basically, all of my years of honing my skills and working with Flash, I'm like, I gotta do this, they're my favorite band, I gotta show them, what I'm made of. And so I made this presentation, and they ended up picking it. They sent me tickets and put my name in their album, and for me that was awesome. And so I felt like I can do a lot more than what's in front of me. I can do a better website than what they have right now. So I convinced them to let me do their website. I did their website for free. I was like 12 years old. They had no idea who I was, no idea where I lived. They had no idea how old I was. But I made a compelling argument and did a website for a band that ended up headlining the band's Warped Tour, sold hundreds of thousands of records, were featured in movies and radio. And one great thing about that was at the bottom right-hand side of the website, it said designed by Brendan Ciecko. This was before I had a company name. This is before I knew what an LLC was, which is like a formal corporate entity for a business. And so people started to contact me from all over the world saying, hey, can you build our website? We love what you did for Slick Shoes. And that landed me my first major client, Vagrant Records. They were the largest independent record label in the world at that time. Saves the Day, the Get Up Kids, Dashboard Confessional, bands that on an indie label were selling millions of records, going gold, platinum, winning MTV, VMAs, really hitting critical mass. And those were all my favorite bands. So I started taking on all their digital media, their print work, merchandise, and I received the nickname Wonder Boy after they found out how old I was, which I can tell stories about later. So this was really my introduction to the music industry, and here's a quote that really defines the industry as it is. The music industry is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free, and good men die like dogs. There's also a negative side. So the music industry is really competitive, not very ethical. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of people screwing you over, a lot of people saying one thing and not following through. So it was really a risky niche market to be going into. I could have been building websites for other industries, but I decided, hey, I want to stick to music. It's something I'm passionate about. These are bands that I love, that I feel like I can really exemplify their image to the broader public, and I thought that was a successful formula. So I stuck with the music industry and formally founded 10 Minute Media in about 2003. And so really the basis was providing my clients with whatever they wanted. So if a client was coming to me to design a website, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll design the website. If they're coming to me to design like a promotional video, I don't do video work. This was when it was just a one-man operation. I'd find a way to provide. Didn't do merchandise design. I'd find a way to provide it. So I was really just doing anything that the client wanted me to. So the company was really, really exciting to finally come up with a name. I can tell you about the name after during Q&A. I'll tell you, my biggest secrets of what 10 Minute Media means. And so what this meant for me during high school was a lot of ideas, a lot of design, and a lot of code. This was before I was building a development team to work with, and I was just kind of crunching as a single-man operation. This is a picture of me that was actually in PC Magazine that I'll get to later. Still kind of going with the whole dork thing with the Chuck Taylors and the Argyle and the shaggy hair. So I just want to show that. So I kept working all throughout high school on building websites for bands. Went from indie labels to bigger indie labels to bigger artists, and then finally landed my first major label client, which was Capitol Records. And for me, they're the most iconic record label. They have the Capitol Records Tower, they have the Beatles, and so for me, I thought I hit gold, and I was really excited. And after I started working in the music industry, more and more and more in the major music industry, other labels and companies started to take notice. So EMI, Warner Brothers, Clear Channel, Virgin, RCA, Def Jam, Sony Music, those were all and still are clients that I work with on a day-to-day basis, providing digital media services, development services, design, creative. And I've also done work for Fortune 500s. I feel it's important to show that you can mold to other industries and provide a service to different industries and verticals. And so I've also worked with Fortune 500s like Samsung and Clear Channel and Mass Mutual, which I'm really proud to achieve as the founder of the company, and also celebrities. So a lot of the clients that I work with they have international notoriety, and that's really fun because you get a whole another audience looking at your work because they know who these people are. Like Katy Perry yesterday broke world history, tying Michael Jackson with 5 hit singles, #1 singles on a single album. And so can you imagine the amount of traffic going to the website that my company built is really exciting. And here are some lists of actual artists that we've worked with: Mick Jagger, Katy Perry, Lenny Kravitz, Slash, Snoop Dogg, whole bunch of artists, lots of different genres. I can tell you stories, like with Mick Jagger. It was a really exciting project for me because this was the point where I was deciding between going back to college or dropping out of college. And so right when I was supposed to hand in kind of the paper to formally go on a hiatus or to withdraw, you actually have to fill out papers to drop out of college, which I think is bullshit. But anyways, so right around that time, I got a call from someone that I had been working with at Capitol who said, Brendan, I never told you this, but I used to tour manage for the Rolling Stones, and Mick Jagger's in the market for a new website. He has a new album coming out, and I showed him your work, and he loves it. So let's set up a phone call and talk about some ideas. And so I got really excited about this. A week goes by, and the phone call never happens. So I'm kind of pissed. I'm kind of bummed about the situation. Another week goes by, and I get a call to Brendan. Mick Jagger's actually in New York, wants to meet you. The meeting's tomorrow. Make yourself available. And so I was wicked stoked. And he said, we don't have a time for the meeting, but I'll let you know in the morning if it's on or if it's off, and just drive your ass to New York City. And so for me, that's a 3-hour drive. I'm like, okay, definitely no questions about it. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, it's still an exciting experience. So I get to New York, and they still haven't announced what time it's at. And so I'm like, okay, I'm in New York. I have a couple hours to kill. I'm going to take a couple meetings. So I stopped at Capitol Records, and then I stopped by Warner. And on my way from getting up out of the subway for one of my meetings, I get a call. It's like, the meeting's at 6, be there on time. It's at this place, this place. I realize I have no money in my pocket, so it's not like I can take a cab there, which I should have. So I'm just like running through the streets, dodging baby carriages. Finally get to the place, and it's at the Palace Hotel in New York, which is where they shoot Gossip Girl. I don't know if that's big here, but it's like an iconic New York City hotel. And I'm sweaty. I throw on my suit coat, and I get there, and probably in like a pre-pubescent voice, I'm like, "Hi, I'm Brendan. I'm here for Mick Jagger." And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And so they look at the little thing, and surely enough, I'm on there, and I get sent up, and they're waiting around. I finally. Everybody's invited to Sir Mick Jagger's suite, and so we head in, and just like an incredible energy in the room over like, he's this legend, and he likes what I do. I'm from the middle of nowhere. I'm like 18 years old at the time, and he's getting really excited about colors and wants the pages to change colors, things that are actually really, really simple, but he's getting really excited about. And so it's really, like that for me was one of the coolest experiences about starting my own company and being able to really stay diligent, work hard, work my way up, and have something to show for it. So this was like one of those, I don't really consider myself someone to be starstruck, but I was kind of starstruck going in the elevator down and going, holy shit, I'm next to Mick Jagger, his manager, his bodyguard, his makeup artist, is this person, is that person, just being really excited about what it is to be an entrepreneur. So little things like that make it so worth it to not sleep for 3 days and to work as hard as you can and to sacrifice early on and during to really achieve success. So that's just a little story with Mick Jagger. And actually, when I originally prepared the presentation, Elizabeth was like, Brendan, there's no pictures. Why did you just do words? It'd be important to show your work. And I'm like, that's a great idea. I don't know why I didn't think about that. So this was one of the first websites I ever built, like in the common sense of not Homestead, not Tripod, not Angel Fire, none of that shit, not GeoCities, but a real website. I built for Justin Meldale Johnson, who's the bass player for Beck. And it was really exciting for me because there were no assets to work with other than a photo of him. He has a huge afro, which is awesome. And so I created this all from scratch and pulled kind of like a retro vibe and electro flash, primary colors, pop art. He just said, I like pop art, go with it. And so I said, okay. And so I went with that, and this is really kind of funny to say, because when was this? I don't know if there's copyright on it. I think we built this in like 2005 or 2006, and it's still up, and it's 2011. So must like the website. It's still up there. Justin Meldale Johnson. This is some merchandise design I did from System of a Down. They're one of the best-selling rock bands in history, about 50 million records. And so they asked for some merchandise designs that reflected the themes and archetypes of the new albums. And one of the guys in the band liked pop art as well in primary colors. And there's like a little bit of grotesqueness, there's a little bit of rawness. And so here are some designs that they created. And this one was actually changed into a children's onesie and sold at Hot Topic, which I thought was really funny. And that one was one of the best sellers on Ozfest. So I was really excited about that. And like I said, I'm not a merchandise designer, but if a client comes to me and says we need something for you, we need you to design something, I'll do it. The website for everyone in this room's favorite band, the New Kids on the Block. They're actually, they came back, and I'm not even going to hide this. Elizabeth and I have seen them live twice, and they're extremely entertaining. It's a great show. And so this was around the time of they're announcing that they were reuniting, And this is a group that was one of the first groups in history to break $1 billion. Super successful. They sell out shows in like, 5 seconds, and their fans are crazy, and they're this awesome brand. And it was really exciting to work with a different demographic and a different type of artist. I don't generally do work with like boy band pop artists, and this was really exciting. And this was around the time where like creating everything in modules was getting really popular with the best user experience, to have the headline and then allowing it to expand for more content and just squeezing as much as humanly possible on a page. So that was an exciting project, and if they come, I think they do play Poland. You guys can take the train to Warsaw. If they're not, I'm sure you'll be entertained. There's a website designed for Slash. One of the key things was they wanted to achieve manly purple. Slash likes purple, but a manly shade of purple. They're all very happy that we were able to achieve that, and met Slash in Boston about a year ago, and he was really stoked about everything that we've been able to build. So we did a lot of different work for Slash around the time of his last album, and he's a really awesome guitar legend. Plain white tees. This was supposed to be Bardzo Elegancki, so there you go. They wanted something that was Victorian influenced, had some elegance to it, some gilt frames, and this was built on the Ning platform, which is a social media platform where you can create a community, customize it, and they're actually one of the highest traffic Ning networks, and so we've built a number of iterations of designs for them, and they're that Hey There Delilah band that had the #1 hit. Here's actually, this is actually just like a design I made for Elizabeth in high school, and influenced by like silhouette, vector art, and I later adapted that for one of my favorite bands. They asked me to do merch. Saves the Day is this band. They're on Vagrant, and then they got signed to DreamWorks and sell out huge shows. They toured with Weezer and a bunch of big bands, and so they asked me to do some merch. I was doing all their web stuff, and so I took little elements from that because I felt it met like the undertones of their music, and they loved these. And actually, one of them I think they still print to this day, and this was like 5 years ago. So I was really excited about that, using like a piece of art that I created from scratch, adapting it to a different medium, and then seeing people wearing it on the streets is really, really exciting. This was a web project that we built for Olade. Cool thing about this was it was a beverage by the drummer of Rage Against the Machine, and they got Paul Frank to do the art, and then they asked me to do the web adaptation of everything. So I was really stoked because Paul Frank is super well known, has this cool retro aesthetic to his work, and that was awesome. That was a lot of fun. This was actually done for the band that I got Subway sandwiches to do work for. They needed an album cover. I did their web and their merch. They needed an album cover, and so I created something based on a lot of the tones throughout their album. They were kind of like I hate to use the term, but like emo indie rock band, and so that was really a cool project because it was something I was doing. I was doing a lot of big work at the time, but was still kind of doing work for my friends, and they would come over to my house. This was when I was younger. They'd come over to my house, and we'd stay up till like 1 o'clock in the morning. My bedroom was like super, super small, and we just squeeze together and work on the art. Someone would bring Subway sandwiches, and it was a golden experience. Katy Perry, this was one of kind of like the in-between splash pages, microsite, while she was in between albums. The site up right now, we've done maybe 5 or 6 iterations for every single tour announcement that she's had. The site gets a complete new reskin, and this was in between. And this was kind of like the step of redefining her image, because she went from like very cutesy retro to like kind of intense and very sexy and more grown up. And this was the website that accompanied that scene or transition. This was a flash website for Taylor Hicks. He won American Idol. Not much to say about that. This is something I'm working on right now for EMI Nordic. It's a microsite for EMI Denmark and Finland and Norway and Sweden. And so this is just like a slide, one piece of the puzzle or one piece of the pie, where it's going to create a full room experience, and it's going to be HTML5. It's going to look really cool on an iPad, and you're going to be able to swipe over to a new room, enter a door. One cool, I guess, little story for you guys is the door, although I'm not showing it, the door is a door in Krakow. So it's a nice little Krakow being on the website, because I've been going around the city and documenting all of the windows and doors, and I actually have a Tumblr all about it. I'll tell you about later if you want. That's a picture that I took. This was never used, but this was for Bette Midler, who's like a big, famous celebrity. And so I was really stoked because it seemed like such a fun project, and it was going to be a lot of fun, and the whole premise was to make her look as youthful as possible, and she was very bright colors, and I think I referred to this as like a digital Botox. That's what I referred to this project as. It never got used, and there's no site up to this day. There's just a splash page. But I figured I'll show you what's up, what's hasn't been launched, just to kind of give you a little bit of everything. So, I think it was 2005, there's this global competition called the Global Student Entrepreneurship Awards, and this was a college entrepreneurship competition open to the world, where you submit, you get endorsed by a professor, and in its first year there were about 700 entries that got narrowed down to 24. And so I entered and told my story and gave a presentation in Boston, and there were like students from Harvard, students from Boston University, Boston College, Endicott, Bentley, business majors, and I at the time was going to like a very hippy holy days type of college, and liberal arts, create your own major, and so just kind of like gave my presentation, ended up winning as a national finalist, and so I presented in Chicago, and after the event, they were like, Brendan, we actually need a new brand, and we feel our brand doesn't really say anything about the event. As someone that's experienced it, and someone that's an entrepreneur and designer, we think you do a really good job of translating that into a brand. And this was an event that's sponsored by Mercedes-Benz Financial, and like they had reception, what's his name? Guy Kawasaki was one of the judges. The founder of Fruit of the Loom was one of the judges. Brad Feld, who's like a huge, highly respected VC, is one of the judges. And so I worked on the branding and made it more of like the Grammys for college entrepreneurs. And really the coolest thing for me as an artist and designer and entrepreneur for this was this image was displayed in the New York City Stock Exchange. And someone just happened to grab a picture, and I saw him like, oh my god, awesome, except Wall Street is a bunch of bastard asses destroying the financial system. But that's the story and the emotions of this brand right here, GSCA. If you're a college entrepreneur, I'd highly recommend that you enter. It's a great opportunity for college entrepreneurs. And I don't think they've had anyone from Poland. And as I've been discovering, Poland's some of the coolest entrepreneurs, very successful, very motivated. There's a lot of talent here, so show it to the GSCA. It's a website for Wayne Brady. It's to launch very shortly, the next week or so. He's on Let's Make a Deal and Whose Line Is It Anyways, and he's in movies, and he's very famous and super cool guy. So that's going up shortly. Website for Lenny Kravitz. We did 3 websites for Lenny Kravitz because he switched management 3 times, and every time he went to a new management company, he decided that he wanted a new website. So we did one version, and then he switched managements, and then this version, which was Flash, and then another version, and then he was doing this tour called the Get on the Bus tour, and we had to do a microsite for that, and then another tour, change that. So there's a lot of transitioning and changing. And so he picked this one, and this one was up for like a year or so, and then he probably switched management and label and had to do another one. But that was really exciting. It's a cool little anecdote about Lenny Kravitz is, I guess his grandfather is from Ukraine, so there's this cool video of him online after he plays Lviv or Kiev, and is talking about how it's the land of his grandfather, and I think he tries to speak some Russian and Ukrainian. It's kind of cool. Here are some logos that I did. Local to where I'm from, Holyoke, which is an industrial city. They had a kind of like a design bid for this thing called Creating Holyoke, and I made this logo. This is the city hall, and it's a city kind of like Łódź, where there's a lot of industrial buildings, very big factories, and so that exemplified that look. And now it's all over this kind of installation exhibit that's funded by the National Endowment of the Arts by the U.S. government, which is pretty cool. That was just an idea of mine that I never did anything with, where I wanted to change Holyoke into Amsterdam and call it Holyoke-sterdam. The city doesn't really get it, and they still don't. So those are just some like little branding things, not as serious, but just like another dynamic. There's a website for Julianne Hough, who's the star of Dancing with the Stars. And she's a country music artist. She wins Grammys, and I think her boyfriend is Ryan Seacrest. And so there's all this like celebrity gossip, and she's always like beautiful and innocent and cute. And so this website does it for her. I think I've been using more than 20 seconds each slide. I'm sorry. Hope I'm not boring anyone. This is a brand that I did for One Republic. They had the highest selling single in the history, or the most played single in the history of radio. It was called "Apologize." It was with Timbaland. So we did the branding. We initially did the website, then we did the branding, and the band blew up. And then this logo was on all their, behind them when they played stadiums, and on their artwork all over the world, their posters, their T-shirts. So that was another situation where having something designed and printed in different mediums was really exciting. I must have been 17 at the time. And this was one of like the first big artist sites that I did was for Natalie Cole. I think she's won 9 Grammys now. She's a legendary act. And this was before Mick Jagger. This was like 18 years old when things were starting to build momentum, but I wasn't sure where I'd be able to take my company. And so Flash website, everything's kind of self-explanatory. Show the video, make it fresh, make it feminine, make it youthful. Right now, working with EMI, I'm doing a bunch of different projects, and this is going to be one of the label sites for, I think, EMI Sweden. It doesn't really say a lot, but I just wanted to throw that out there as something that we're working on right now that has a lot of different user experience elements, made to look as cool as possible on an iPad with a lot of touch screen interactivity and overlays and things of that sort. And then last but not least, the website for Mick Jagger, full Flash website, only one piece of art to work with, and everything else was kind of based on just make something sophisticated. This is someone that has a never-ending career in rock and roll, very gritty, very rock and roll. And just make them look sophisticated. And so we made a little gilded frame and very simple and something that's easy to navigate. And you go from page to page, and it would change colors, and there'd be sliding animation. Just very basic, spoke for itself, and Mick Jagger loved it. So that's the one that everyone asks questions about. And for me, it's like one of the least exciting sites aesthetically, but. Now I'm going to focus on some challenges, because everything's not as cool as running around New York for meetings and meeting celebrities. There's a lot of hard work and challenges, especially starting a business when you're so young. In high school, you have to balance high school, school, extracurriculars, hockey practice, this and that, having friends, and then squeezing in having a company onto that same equation. So that was a early experience in learning not to procrastinate and to manage my time, and that led me to, okay, if I'm 14, 15 years old and I need to hire developers, it's not like I'm going to go to my office because I don't have a driver's license, there's no subway, there's no tram. I'm not going to invite oh, you're a developer, come into my bedroom. It's just not going to work. So I realized with the way that digital relationships were happening, where I was communicating with my clients via email and phone, it's as easy as that. And this was before project management systems, which makes working super efficient. I need to look for developers. So started looking for outsourced companies and freelance developers. And so that brings a whole kind of new challenge and dilemma. How do you find reliable developers that will start working? You had some developers that start working and then they disappear. You'd have some developers that work, you'd get the code and be like, this is the worst code I've ever seen in my entire life. So that was a challenge. Not getting paid, I've been screwed over so many times. There was a time 7 years ago where we didn't use contracts, and that was me. I wasn't using contracts, and so I get screwed over by some clients, and actually still from time to time get screwed over. I mean, that's just the nature of being in business. There are some people that follow through, some that don't, and that's just one of the challenges. And then red flags. Finding out, learning from experience, what these red flags were, when to be weary of a client. And now I know, like right off the bat, is this person going to be difficult to work with? Is this person going to pay on time? Is this person going to change their mind 300 times? And those things, I guess you just learn with time, because you get so excited and you think, well, it's money in my pocket, it's another project in my portfolio, and so you take the project anyways, and then after you kick yourself. So those are just some red flags, things to watch out for. I'm sure if you're a freelancer, if you're an entrepreneur in this room, you've had similar experiences, and that's just part of having your own company. So now this is the time in my presentation where earlier I asked if anyone wanted me to talk about anything in particular, and Ella, you wrote some things, and someone named Pjort, I don't know if you're here. Awesome, thank you. Thank you for coming. Posted some questions, and if anyone wants to right now pull out their iPhone, their handy dandy smartphone, whatever it may be, ask me a question, I'll answer that question. But I'll just address some that were asked earlier. Were there any moments when you wanted to give up? Absolutely. There have been times where a project would be so time-consuming, exhausting, and drilling that I just wanted to throw my computer out the window and never, pick up a computer, never think about entrepreneurship again. And that, I was working on a project for HBO where I was up for 4 days in a row, and it was with an agency, and it was a complete train wreck because I'd never put so much stress and exhaustion on me. I think I bit off more than I could chew. So that was an example of a time that I wanted to give up. But, I think that's just natural with anything. As entrepreneurs, we love what we do, but it's natural to kind of be like, today I want to give up, things aren't going my way, and you keep on doing it. What type of music do you like? That's a good question, thank you. I like a variety of music. What do I like right now? Well, my favorites are Tom Waits, Beck, Bright Eyes, The Beatles. Actually like Czesław Śpiewa, who played here. Yeah, I know your guys' music. I'm going to Coke Live. I'm going to the Coke Live Festival. I know what's going on. But yeah, I listen to a lot of different bands, a lot of different genres. I like Romanian gypsy music. I like opera. I like punk rock. A lot of my early high school days were listening to Rancid and NoFX and Operation Ivy and Bad Religion, like punk rock bands, so very gritty and very fast. And now I listen to slower music, or slower relative to that music. So those are just some examples of bands that I like. Actually, I like what are they called? Cars on Fire, also a Polish band, great Polish band. Czesław Nemen?
Yes.
Nemen, I like him too. Oh my god, I didn't pronounce his name correctly. What is the alternative to iTunes? Right now I'm using Grooveshark and RDO. RDO is founded by the guys from Skype. It's a great service. I don't know if it's available in Europe right now. No, must not be. Grooveshark is awesome, except that Apple's taking their app off their store, and it keeps getting, there's a lot of back and forth with the RIAA suing everybody, so it's really difficult. You can have the best music platform, but if you don't have the relationship with the record labels, even the best user experience, the best interface can end in a horrible lawsuit. Again, GrooveShark's awesome. Actually, it does work in Poland. I've been listening to music on GrooveShark, so check out GrooveShark. Great platform. It's beautifully designed. Will they ever become the alternative to iTunes? No, they probably won't. What are your plans for the future? That's an interesting question because I don't know. Like I've told myself that once I'm 23 right now, and a couple years ago I told myself at 25 I want to change completely, do something completely different. Because I've been designing and building websites since the ripe age of 11. And it's still exciting, but I wonder if there's something else I'm capable of doing, a different role I can play. So I'm hoping in like the next year or so to surround myself with the right team of people, the right minds, the right thinkers, and come up with an idea and kind of jump into a startup and start from scratch. So that's one idea for the future. Or I could be the 40-year-old guy that builds websites for music industry artists. Who knows? Probably not that one. Last one, someone said, tell them about their fabulous city. A friend of mine from Vienna visited 2 or 3 weeks ago and absolutely loved Krakow. And so he posted, tell them about their fabulous city. I don't need to say anything about this fabulous city because everyone knows it's a fabulous city. I love Krakow. And coming from an Austrian, coming from someone who's Viennese, that should mean a lot that they love the city as well. So I absolutely love the fact that we live in a digital age. Like I talked about before the internet earlier, and woo-woo cartoonists and whatnot, and sending letters, handwritten letters. It's more exciting to me this digital age that we live in and how that allows me to work. Like right now I'm running a company, and then months from now I'm going to be in Boston doing the same thing. I'm going to be in New York, and then I'm going to be back here. And just the mobility of the era that we live in is a really beautiful thing. Being your own boss gives you a tremendous amount of freedom. I create my own hours, I work on projects that I want to work on, and that type of freedom really means a lot to me. I don't think there's anything better than being your own boss. Lived in Boston, New York City, Warsaw, I guess unfortunately, since you guys are and right now we're in Krakow and love to be here. And I couldn't be living in Krakow if I was trying to think of what I could be 50 years ago. I don't know, but all I'm saying is it's absolutely an incredible thing to be able to run a company, using your own rules, working whenever you want. And like right now, my mail gets opened by robots. So my mail, and this is like the coolest thing to me. So before going to Warsaw, we decided that who's going to handle all my mail? I don't want to hire a secretary. There has to be a solution out there. There's a startup in the States that would have all of your mail routed to a P.O. box in New York City, or you give a New York City address. Robots would scan your letters, and if you decided to open it, it would open it. If there's a check-in in it, it automatically scans it. Like, that's the beauty of this era that we live in.
How do you know it's accurate?
It's super accurate. I've never missed a letter. All my checks get...
You mean like an actual physical letter?
For physical mail.
Yeah,
for physical mail. I mean, it's unfortunate that we still resort to physical mail. Mm-hmm. You guys like postcards? I'm sorry, no. But there are still clients of mine that send checks, and these are huge, conglomerates that are still sending checks. And so to have a robot open and scan that, it's the coolest thing. Thank you for the digital age. And here are some, I guess, features that have been featured in Inc. magazine. Cool to turn in under 30, meet the brains behind America's smartest new companies. I feel very undeserving of that. I don't feel like my company is that cool. I don't know if I'm that determined. I don't know if my brains are that great. But that was really exciting for me to tell my story, to bring my story to a broader audience. And Entrepreneur magazine, BMW magazine, which was actually translated into, I think, 20 languages, Polish as well. Fast Company, PC magazine. My first year of college, PC Magazine did this thing called what do we call it? Small Medium Business Awards for innovative use of technology. And around that time, I built a viral analytics system that I used on a couple of projects for Capital with Lily Allen. And so they wrote about it and then contacted me and said, well, that's super innovative. We love your story. Here's an award. And so that was kind of a fun award to receive, except that I wasn't using a PC and I don't read PC Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
The picture earlier on holding the sign, that was from PC Magazine. Awards for individual projects / received an award, a golden floppy disk by LA Weekly for the best social media presence and website. And he kindly received it on work that I produced for him, and that was kind of exciting. He actually was really appreciative when I met him that he got that award and that he had the most badass social media presence out of everyone in Los Angeles, all those celebrities. A Webby for some work we did with Katy Perry, an Addy Global Student Entrepreneurship Award, and a PC Small and Medium Business Award. So I've told you a lot, maybe too much about my business and what I do and how I got started, and maybe too many examples of my work, and I apologize if you feel that way. So outside the office, I like to travel, I like to eat, I like to sleep, I like to go to concerts, I love cities. City that I spent a lot of time in back home was one of the first industrial planned cities in the world, and rose to a point of having the most millionaires per capita, and then is now one of the poorest cities per capita. I guess very similar to Łódź in a lot of ways. It's an industrial city, so I'm involved in a lot of conversations over the revitalization, and there's this high-performance computing center that MIT, Harvard, Cisco, and EMC are building in this city that no one knows about, and is a population of 40,000. So those are things that I'm really passionate about outside of just my formal company and what I do there. For more information about anything, about my company, about me, you can go to 10minutemedia.com. You can feel free to email me. Put one of these fancy codes there if you want to try scanning it. I don't know if it works. Maybe there's a hidden message. Maybe there's my credit card number. The winning lotto numbers. I don't know. And more than anything, I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you so much, Dziękuję serdecznie. Thank you so much.